party bosses of the Gilded Age. So here's our standard, and then yesterday we talked about immigration and how it was connected to the political machines, but today we're really going to discuss political machines and party bosses. All right, so the 19th century government provided the necessary services like roads and the judicial system, which would be the court systems, but they weren't overly concerned with the individual person and their needs. So because of this, neighborhoods, communities, and fraternal associations had to step in and give help where the government wasn't. So from this, leaders of these associations began to gain more and more power. So this would be your party bosses. They began to get influence through politics, and bosses began running for office. And once they were elected, their first priority was to help the associations that backed them as they ran for office. So why do you think party bosses began to run for office? How would they get into office? How did they get into office?
They were voted by the immigrants.
That they were supporting, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so why do you think it was called machine politics?
Worked like a machine.
Very good, yes, okay. So machine politics was termed this because it worked like a machine generating votes. And like we mentioned earlier, party bosses were elected into office because they helped people in these neighborhoods and communities and in return got their votes. Okay, so one of the most famous political machines was Tammany Hall, which was the Democratic headquarters of New York City. William Marcy Tweed was the leader from the late 1860s to the early 1870s. He used bribery, rigged elections, and fraud to basically steal $200 million from the city, which was quite a lot. All right, this is an image of Boss Tweed. Up here is a drawing of Tammany Hall at the time, and then we have a political cartoon of Boss Tweed. What do you notice from this political cartoon?
He's leaning on the ballot box.
He is, and you probably can't see it, but it says, "In counting there is strength." What would that mean?
Counting
In
of the
counting
votes.
there is strength.
The
Counting what?
votes.
The votes, absolutely. So he's leaning against the box because he's the party boss and he supports them, so he's expecting their support in return. This is another political cartoon of him. What do you notice from it?
His head's a money bag.
It is, and why do you think they use that?
And his hands are in his pockets because he's taking the money from the people.
Okay, so they put the money bag in his head and have his hands in his pockets, make him look all kind of suspicious, because he was, in fact, he would help the communities a little bit, but mostly he would put the money in his own pockets. All right, this is another political cartoon. It's not covering Boss Tweed, but just political machines in general. What do you notice?
It provides equal protection to like the big corporations, but then it just leaves all of the common people out in the rain.
Absolutely, very good. Okay, so that political cartoon addressed the issue they had with the distribution of funds. So political machines created jobs that employed people in the community, and in return, they got the support and help of local businesses. Public building projects where contractors gained money to do their project, but they also in return had to pay kickbacks to the party bosses in order to stay in business. Political machines did help widows, the poor, orphans, the elderly, and the sick, and their goal at first was to even out and redistribute the funds, but it ended up being where these party bosses and leaders would just pocket the money they were getting and not really help the community. So Tweed became extremely wealthy from this, and he used gain power to help enforce his rule. He evaded arrest in 1865 and was finally arrested and convicted of larceny and forgery in 1873. He died in prison in 1878. And from this experience with political machines and party bosses like William Tweed, the U.S. government finally stepped in and started enlisting agencies to help the public and their needs. And why do you think they did that? Why would the government finally step in and start helping?
So that the money would be distributed properly.
Yes, and so then they wouldn't have these party bosses with all this control in the cities. All right. Thank you, class.